This video walks through how to complete Lab 2.2.3.3 in Packet Tracer, configuring initial switch settings for Net125. So we pick up with having the lab open in Packet Tracer. We've got two PCs here, PC1 and PC2, and two switches, switch 1 and switch 2. There is a copper straight-through cable connecting PC1 to switch 1, a copper straight-through cable connecting PC2 to switch 2, and a crossover cable connecting switch 1 and switch 2. Now we haven't got there yet in the class, but usually different devices, meaning a PC to a switch, will use copper straight-through cables, and usually like devices, for instance, switch 1 to switch 2, because they're both switches, will use a crossover cable. Now, updated devices are smart enough to actually switch that no matter what type of cable you use, but for this example, we're going to stick with this. So we pick up with the lab in part 1, step 1. It says to enter privileged mode. So we're going to click on S1 and click the CLI tab. Now in the previous lab, remember I told you in a real life situation, you cannot actually physically click on a switch, right? It is just sitting in a rack somewhere. You have to usually connect a console cable to the switch and then run everything from the PC. Right, access all the command line stuff from there. And this one we are able to click on switch 1, click on CLI, and we are brought right into it here, just like we would have been on a PC. So whenever we're here, we want to, with just the forward arrow, remember I said we always want to type enable. You can shorten that to just EN and press enter. Okay. Now we are in privilege mode. So from here again, as last week I said, you can type in show commands like show run. In the example over here in step 2, they say to do show running dash config. That is the exact same thing. Okay. When you hit enter here, you see it has the more button. You either use your down arrows to quit it, or you can hit the space bar and it will actually expand it. So every time I hit the space bar, you'll see more and more settings. And again, show run shows you all the settings that are configured on every interface, such as if there was an IP address, a virtual LAN, passwords, all that good stuff is under show run. You can see what somebody else configured if you were not the person to configure it, or troubleshoot some issues, which we'll get to much later. All right, so it says answer the following question: how many fast Ethernet interfaces are there? In a physical switch, you would be able to see that there's 24 of them, but here there's labeled interface fast Ethernet 0, 1 through 24 here. Each one of the fast Ethernet ports you would be able to plug in your computer into. Those are run at 100 megabits per second. If you've ever heard that, that's how fast it is, the bandwidth. Then you've got gigabit interfaces, and you've got two of those here, and those run at 1,000 megabits per second, so those are a little bit faster. It says what is the range of the values shown for the VTY lines? You've got line VTY 04 and line VTY 515. Now remember from the reading, the VTY lines are remote login. So if I was sitting on a beach somewhere and I had an issue with one of my routers, let's say on campus here, and I needed to log into it remotely, as long as I've got the remote login stuff set up before I go to the beach, I can actually log into it remotely and make any changes, configurations, troubleshoot it, and I don't even have to be in the same room with the switch. So here, the numbers in the VTY lines, though, mean channels. So 0 through 4 means that if I'm the first one to log in, I'll probably get assigned channel 0, right, or like an ID. If I'm a second person to log in, then I'll probably get assigned line VTY1. So you have 0 through 4 there. That means 5 people can log in at a time, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 515 are just basically more channels. So technically I've got 0 through 4 and 515. That's 16 different people can log in at the same time, because it's basically 0 through 15 there. So if you count the 0, that's 16 different people. Now, you may not ever need that many people to log in for security reasons. You may even want to cut that down to maybe just one person if it's just yourself, but that is what those actual numbers mean there. And you can kind of see, and again, you don't have to submit the answers to these. I'm just kind of going through some of them. Also, as you're typing in here and doing different commands, you will want to save your configurations every now and then. And you do that with copy run start. It basically copies your running configurations to your startup configurations. Now, in a real world situation, if the power were to go out, let's say I spent an hour configuring something, the power goes out, I would lose everything if I didn't save my running configurations. Just like if you were like working inside of a Word document, you hadn't saved in a while, your computer's shut off, you have to make sure you save it to the hard drive. Copy run start from here. All right, you type it, asks you destination file name, you hit enter again. That basically saves everything. Now, obviously, when I save my file up here, that saves everything. So the only way you would lose anything is if you physically went to the physical part and hit the power switch on this thing. And then, because they do actually interact, you can turn these on and off, and you can actually see the 24 ports here and the 2 gigabit Ethernet ports as well. You can kind of zoom in and see them. But again, that would be the only way you lose anything here. But it is a good practice for real world situations. Do copy run start every now and then. So here we want to go to global configuration mode and change the switch name. So here you see the display name says S1. That is not actually named S1 when we look, it just says switch. So when we log in, we want to make sure that we are in the right location. So let's change that to match our physical label. So here we're going to go to global configuration mode with configure terminal or config T, and we're going to do host name S1. So basically the command is host name, and anything you type after that, it does have to be all one word, no spaces. You can do like underscores to like insert a virtual space, like here, like that, but we're just going to do S1. And we hit enter, and you'll notice it will change to S1 over here. That's good for knowing what device you're actually in. You never want to get too confused there. Now, to configure and kind of secure some of these lines here, we talked about the virtual lines. We'll do that in a moment, but there's also a line console. Now the console line is using the console cable, just like we did last week, with the last lab. When we connected that blue console cable from the PC to the switch. So here to configure that, we do line console 0, hit enter, and you see it takes you to config-line. That's how you know you're in the right place. And we want to do password let me in, all one word. Hit enter. We have to force it to use it, so we have to type in login, and then they want you to test it out. So click or type exit. We go back, exit again, we go back again, and they want you to exit all the way back out here. And you'll notice it's now asking you for a password. Now previously when we started this lab and clicked on switch 1, it did not ask you for a password. So the password here that it's wanting is the one we just configured. It says let me in. Now one thing you also notice is that there is nothing typed in there. I actually just typed the password, but you'll notice here there's nothing showing. That is just a security thing. It always does that. It will never show what you type. So we hit enter, and voila, we're back where it has the forward arrow symbol, and we can kind of keep moving forward. Now if it gives you something like bad password, then you'll need to start the lab over, because the actual password you may have typed incorrectly, and then you can't get back into it. So you may have to start over and just make sure you pay attention to what you type. So here at this point we can do enable again, config T. Well, if I can type it. There we go. Config T, and we are on to step 4 here. Okay. Step 4, it says we're going to enable a different password here. So we go back into here, and we're going to do enable password C1 $C0, the number 0, not a capital O, as your directions tell you. All right, so make sure you type that correctly. It will not grade it correctly until after you encrypt it in step 8, so that'll be a little bit later. Now, this is setting up a password for when people log in into privileged mode. Now, this password is stored in plain text initially. There's also another one that is encrypted by default, and it serves the same purpose, and it's enable secret. So we'll compare the two in a minute. So we'll do enable password here, and then basically it's Cisco, but written in a different way. So we hit enter here, and we go to exit, and exit again. Okay. So we're going to use the first password that we did, let me in. We hit enter. And then we're going to hit type enable. And you notice it's asking for another password. This is the password we just set, which was C1 $C0. And we hit enter. So it's basically a two authentication steps here. The first one is the line console password that we set up. Let me in, we type enable, but then it's going to ask us for another one for us to get into privileged mode. So now we need to type in the one we just did, which is C1 $C0. Okay. Now, usually we only set 2 passwords. So if you ever get confused, just try them both. But you'll get used to it after a while. Now, one other thing to note is, let's do a show run really quickly. I'm going to scroll through, and you notice right here, this is the password we just set. Now, this is kind of a security risk, because if anybody were to ever hack into your device, they'd be able to do a show run and see exactly what password you have set there. Okay, that is not good practice. So there is an encrypted way to do that, and that's in step 6. It says we're going to configure a secret instead of the password. It works identically, where when you type it in, that's what you're going to be typing in. So config T, enable secret, it's a secret. We hit enter. Okay, and notice it says the enable secret password overrides the enable password. If both are configured on the switch, you must enter the enable secret password, because right now we've got both running simultaneously. And I'm going to do a show run here. Now, one thing to note too, when you do the show commands, you have to be where it is just a pound symbol. But here, if you type in the word do before any command, it'll allow you to perform that command anywhere you are. Now, that's a little more advanced, but it does serve a purpose here. So I can just type it right there. And you'll notice now it says enable password is still there, but when we typed in enable secret, it's a secret, it does not show our password. It shows an encrypted version of the password. So that's a little bit more secure, right? So now, if we were to exit all the way back out, remember this is the first one we set the line console, just let me in. And then when we do enable, all right, it is not looking for the C1 $C0 one. It's looking for the one that says it's a secret, and then it lets us in. Okay, so just make sure you note that. All right. All right, so now we are in step 8, where it says encrypt the enable and console passwords. Okay, so let's go back to global configuration mode, and the command is service password -encryption. Okay, so when we type that in, hit enter. All right, it actually goes back, and if we do a show run now, it encrypts not only just our secret one that's already encrypted, it actually encrypts the ones that are stored in plain text, so you can no longer see our enable password there. All right, so it's just a security thing, service password encryption. Also, as you're typing these commands, when I do like service, a lot of times I even forget where to put those dashes in words. So as you do password, you could hit the question mark, and it'll show you exactly what it will accept. Also, if it's the only thing there and I hit tab, it'll finish it out for me, and then I can just hit enter. All right, so just some differences there, some command line things you can get used to. You can take it or leave it. It's not mandatory. In Part 3, step 1, we're going to configure a message of the day. This is just a message to all of your users that, could log in onto your system. A lot of times, it could say authorized access only, have a nice day, whatever you want it to set. So the command is banner MOTD, which stands for message of the day. And in quotation marks, it's basically like a sentence. You can type whatever you want to here. This is a secure system, authorized access only, and hit enter. Now, if you exit all the way back out and you log in, you'll see it has your message of the day now. This is a secure system, authorized access only. We type in our passwords, let me in, and it's a secret. Now we can get back into configuration mode. Now, let me exit back out one. Now here is where they want you to do copy, run, start, copy running -config, startup -config, same thing. You hit enter, and it basically saves your configurations for you. Okay. Now, we are done with switch 1, and basically they want you to go over and configure the same type of things on switch 2. So over here on switch 2, and I'll run through these a little bit quicker since we already kind of went through them. Okay. So they have me name the device, host name S2. They want me to protect access to the console line using let me in. So we do line con 0. This is short for line console 0. You don't have to shorten it. Password let me in. Log in. Because we got to force it to use it. And then configure a message of the day. So banner MOTD. Oh, I'm sorry. We also have to, let's see, I skipped one. In C, it says configure and enable password of Cisco. So enable password. And again, they spell it a little different. And enable secret, it's a secret. And we also configure a message of the day, banner MOTD, authorized access only, unauthorized access is prohibited. All right, so there's a little more scarier message for anybody who tries to hack into this switch. Authorized access only, unauthorized access is prohibited, and violators will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Now we're going to encrypt all plain text passwords, so service password encryption. And again, you may see some stuff just auto-populate when I'm typing. I'm just hitting the tab key again, and we're going to ensure that the configuration is correct. You can do a show run, and we want to exit and copy run start and copy our running configurations over. Okay, so if you ever need to review them again, show run will show you everything that you've kind of configured here, even down to your line console, your banner, if we did any of the line VTY stuff, which is remote login, and you should have 72 out of 72 points. So that means you are done. When you do check results, go to the assessment items. You should be able to see anything you have a red X near and just kind of hone in on that one part if you did miss something. All right, so that shows how to complete the Packet Tracer 2.2.3.3 configuring initial switch settings. If you have any further questions on it, please make sure you let me know via email, give me a call, or stop by my office.